Hi book friends, I'm Erin, and this is Erin Go Read. Today I'm going to do the mid-year book freak-out tag. This is my first year on BookTube, so this is my first mid-year book freak-out. So I'm going to follow the prompts, the questions that are laid out in the tag, and talk a little bit about my book reading year so far. First question is, what is the best book you have read so far this year? And that's actually harder than I thought it was going to be. I looked back at my Goodreads and I said, okay, well, I'll look at my 5-star reads, and a lot of them I was like, I don't know, is that really my best of the year, which makes me think I need to rethink my rating system in general. But these are the few that really stood out to me. I couldn't choose just one. Two of them are really recent reads. I think I think both of them I read in June. The first one is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. And I really just fell in love with these characters in particular, and with Chambers' characterization of them, and the world she created that they're living in, really just in a spaceship, really. So this is definitely a late entry, but one of my favorites of the year so far. Then we have Deb Caletti's A Heart in the Body in the World, and we have a young 17-year-old young lady who is a runner. She's on her high school's cross-country team, but she's also a competitive marathon runner, and there's something in her past, and she basically can't deal anymore, and she takes off running. And then as she runs, we find out more about what happens slowly throughout the novel, and it's a lot about the relationships, the people who are close to her, and what they give her in their relationship, and it was just really good. And last, this was from pretty early in the year, Kazou Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day, and we follow Stevenson, a butler who takes great pride in his butling. And he used to work at this glorious manor house in England, and the times are now changing. And the new owner of this manor house is an American, and it just represents the times they are changing. And he goes on a bit of a road trip, and he is reminiscing about the good old days, basically. And so you get a lot of kind of back and forth comparison between how things used to be and how things are becoming now. And I just loved how seriously Stevenson took himself and the art and the service of butling. Question 2 is, what is the best sequel you've read so far this year? And I think there's only one series that I've read with sequels. My husband and I read the Red Rising trilogy this year. I think we started Red Rising in January. It might have been before that, but we read books 2 and 3 this year for sure, and Morning Star is book 3. Book 2, there was a little bit of middle book syndrome with book 2, but I still thought it was a really great book on its own, and really enjoyed Morning Star. And I will probably eventually get into the next trilogy of books. I think book 2 in the next trilogy is out or is coming out soon. Maybe it's even the third book. I'm quite behind. I'm quite behind in this. And then what's a new release that you haven't gotten to yet? I have 2 here. I have 3 here. One is Lanny by Max Porter. This is literary fiction with a bit of a, I guess, fantastical or mythical kind of element to it. I've heard other people talk really highly of this book and of Max Porter and his previous work, I think, which won the Man Booker Prize. And it's just literary fiction, and it sounds really good, and I want to get to it soon. Then we have a bit of a mystery, I believe it's a mystery. I believe it's a bit of a mystery. This is Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. I don't think I've heard a bad thing about it. And then one of the talks of the town, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read Evelyn Hugo, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, a few months ago and really enjoyed it, so I picked up Daisy Jones. And then your most disappointing read so far. I could really only come up with one. This is one of the only books I've DNF'd. And there's another book that I DNF kind of for now. I'll get back to it, but this one, I don't think I'm going to get back to it. And that is Ann Leckie's The Raven Tower. So Ann Leckie, as far as I understand, is well known for her ancillary series. Ancillary Justice is the first one. I've heard lots of good talk about that one and her writing. And this was her first go at fantasy. And I'm a third probably of the way into this. And first of all, it's told in the second person, which I'm just like, who am I? You did this, I saw you, blah, blah, blah. And like, I kept trying to figure out who we're talking about. And then it's supposed to be like the gods messing with the humans kind of things, but just, it wasn't going anywhere. And I was just struggling. And I thought maybe this book just isn't for me. So I will probably end up selling this one back to Half Price Books. And then the biggest surprise of the year. And it's only a surprise because it's a very hyped book that I really didn't know anything about other than it was a World War II like middle grade fiction. And that is The Book Thief. So I really didn't know anything about the actual premise or like the storyline about it, because I kind of got into BookTube way later than this book came out. I wasn't young, or I wasn't, I'm older. What am I trying to say? I'm too old to have read this book in school at any point. And so I really didn't know anything about it other than it was much loved. And so I almost kind of, just in my stubbornness of not wanting to do things because other people said so, went into it a little bit skeptical, and I absolutely loved it. New favorite author, so Kazou Ishiguro from The Remains of the Day. I also read Never Let Me Go by him. Becky Chambers of The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. And Mark Lawrence, who read Red Sister. I have Gray Sister. I haven't picked it up quite yet. And Holy Sister is out. But from everyone that I've seen who is reading this series, they've all loved it, and I just really love the way that he writes these characters and the story that's going on. I'm not giving you much information, but the way that he writes girls, because these are girls at a monastery, basically. It's like a magical fighting monastery. And the way that he writes the relationships between the girls, I thought is really good. Is really spot on. So I'm excited to continue on in this series. Newest fictional crush. I didn't really know that was a thing. I can't say that I have like an actual crush, but the only person I could think of, the only character that I really thought of that came to mind for me was Darrow from the Red Rising trilogy. He's a very good man, and he wants the best for everyone, basically, and he has pretty much as like genuine values and motivation behind what he's doing. He ultimately wants things to be better for everyone, and he's not seeking power just to have power, which is what makes him such a good leader. And so I suppose I am attracted to that quality. So Darrow. New favorite character, I'm going to go with Sussex from The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Hey, doggy. Sussex is a different life form, species from humans. She comes from, I don't remember, some other planet. I can't remember the name of her kind, I guess. And this actually would be offensive to describe her this way, but humans would see her as kind of like a lizard with like feathers and stuff. But I just loved her character and the way that she interacted with our main character and all the characters, really. And she was really like a grounding force. She was kind of like the mama bear of the ship, and I just really loved her. Hi, doggy. Sorry if you hear him panting. Hello. I need love. He really wants to go for a walk, but it's like 102 degrees outside, so we need to wait till it cools down a little bit so he doesn't fry his little paws. Okay, we're almost done. A happy book. What was a book that made me happy while reading it? The first one absolutely that came to mind was The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell. It's just so whimsical, and basically I would get into the stories, but then I would also just, my mind would be blown by like, how did you come up with that? Like, it's so almost ridiculous, and it just made me smile, and there's just so much to love about this short story collection. Also, it's gorgeous. And then a book that made you sad. So I have two for this. The first one didn't make me sad until the ending. That is Where the Red Fern Grows. I read this in like 4th grade, I think. I knew ultimately what happens in the end. I couldn't remember the setup for how it happened, so I knew reading the book the whole time. I knew there was this inevitable thing that was going to happen, which made me sad, and then I definitely cried when I got to that part in the book. Now, a book that made me sad in kind of a different way, because I was sad for the actual people that this happened to, because it was historical fiction, and there was even a point in the book where things were basically going so badly for the people, for the characters in the story, and the people that they're with. I had a hard time reading it, and I had to read it in smaller chunks because it was just so devastating what was going on with them. But I did love this book, and that is The Island of Sea Women by Lisa C. And then we have Most Beautiful Book that you have bought or received. I love this edition of Red Sister, and I am hoping they're going to be editions similar to this for Grey Sister and Holy Sister. I was kind of waiting, actually, to pick up Grey Sister to see if they would come out with an edition like this, and they haven't, so I just picked up what I could. Also Gone with the Wind in this amazing edition. I have started this and enjoying it, but I'm reading another Mammoth book at the moment too, and so it's kind of taking a back seat at the moment, but it is definitely pretty. And then, Mammoth's all of a sudden here at the end, and then the other beauty here is the Priory of the Orange Tree, and we have some foiling on there, these dragons, and it carries through on the back and on the spine. There's a fly buzzing around. I already killed one before we started filming, and now my dog is like, where'd it go? So sorry if you hear the fly. And then the final question 13, is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I'm a grown up. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. So I don't have any arcs. I'm not in school. I don't have to do anything. The only books that I would say on that list are the books that I am currently reading, and those are both for read-along type things. So I'm reading, I'm totally behind in this. I think today is supposed to be the last day of it. Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and that's a read-along with Mara at Books Like Whoa. So I want to get this one finished. And then Claudia at Spencer's Library and Andrea at Infinite Text are hosting a read-along of Ken Follett's The Pillars of the Earth. This is a reread for me. This is my favorite book, and so I'm really enjoying being back into the story. It's just a chunker. It's like 960 pages, and it's kind of heavy, and it's hard to like bring with me all the time. So part of the trouble I'm having right now is that this can be dense, and not necessarily a book that you want to just dip into for a few pages in between things. And then this is just physically heavy and difficult to carry around. So anyhow, but I mean, if I wanted to, I could just stop reading them. I'm not going to, but I hate have to. Like, what? I don't have to do anything. I'm a damn grown-up. Thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing. I know I have a few new subscribers, so thank you and welcome. If you have any thoughts or feelings about any of these books, I would love to know about them in the comments, whether you enjoyed them, whether you're interested in reading them, what have you. Thanks for watching. See you around the tubes.